Roll here. So good. Thank you all for joining. So good morning. Thanks to everyone for joining. We are so excited to have you for our 2023-2024 shareholders meeting here at Rehicle. To those of you who are here in person, thank you all for joining. We're here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Wonderful environment. So thanks for joining. Also, to those of you who joined us via video, thank you so much for connecting with us as well today. So we're excited to tell you the journey that we've been on for the past year, as well as what we have in store for us in the year ahead. So please continue to stick with us. First of all, I want to introduce myself. My name is Crystal Hampton. I'm the Chief Digital Officer here at Rehicle. And so thank you all for joining. What we're going to do today first, we'll kind of go over our agenda. So we can have the slide here, let everyone know what our agenda will be. So the first portion of our agenda that we will go over we'll talk about some of our financial updates that we've had over the past year so that you can get an idea as to, from a financial perspective, what we've been doing. And our CEO, Antonio Sanders, will talk through that. We'll also talk through some of our sales program and what we've been doing from a sales and marketing perspective. And so Michael Crump, our founder rather, will go through that for us. We'll also really have some exciting news about the launch of our app, Rita, the Rehicle InterTrack app. So we will go through that as well. And then lastly, we'll kind of talk about 2004 and beyond, some of the things that we will be doing. So first, what I'd like to do is introduce Antonio Sanders. And he is our Chief Executive Officer here at Rehicle, and he's going to walk through some of our financials for this past year.
Sounds great. Thank you, Crystal. And again, welcome everyone. If we could have the next slide, please. All right. So as Crystal mentioned, one of the bigger things, of course, when you're running a business is your finances, right? That's pretty much everything. You're trying to make money, of course. In our case, we're looking at here early year two, our sales as a whole, 166K, pure revenue, right? So we have, of course, expenses. We're really trying to get off the ground. We have marketing, things like that. And these numbers from a sales perspective incorporate not only the auto sales side of the house that we were running, but also auto parts. So our expenses are roughly 70 grand or so higher than our current sales. So of course, we still are having some debt, right, as a company. But a year two startup, that's a pretty good number, especially with the momentum that you guys are going to get to hear about this year. So we had a lot of growth this year, a lot of changes this year. And we're also using the 2023 catchword of pivot, right? So we're looking at things that are just simply not good business strategies. Exit, right? Quick pivots. There's no reason to stick around with something that's not going to continue to allow for our sales to increase. And one of the things that we've been talking about within the C-suite, if you will, is how we can pull our expenses back, or at least keep them exactly where they are as we increase our sales. So we'll look to get leaner and meaner over the course of the next year, but we'll also expect to resolve some of our current debt, while especially going into some of the application pieces and talk further about how we can generate more revenue as we launch nationally with the application that Michael's going to talk about a little later on. Outside of that, we have our investment here. That's really just a synopsis of the investment that's been made over the course of 2023, up to, I believe, right around September or so with that investment. But reality is we have an early raise that we're going to talk about later on that we're really looking to expand our investments and the money that's coming into Rehicle over the course of the next 3 to 4 months. So some really big things happening here in Q1, Q2, but huge journey ahead of us. So we appreciate everyone kind of sticking around and getting a good feel for where we are financially.
All right, great. Anything else, Antonio?
We're actually going to let Michael kind of start to speak to some of these slides here as far as our expansion, but I'll be back later on to talk a little further.
Yeah. Okay. So next we have Michael Crump. So just want to introduce you all. Everyone I think knows Michael. However, Michael Crump is one of our fearless leaders that we have here at Rehicle. We really appreciate him very much. He's the founder of Rehicle, and also he serves as our Chief Information Officer, our CIO. So we appreciate that. So Michael, kind of give us an idea as to the Rehicle expansion. What have we done recently?
Yeah, so this year's been both a physical and a digital expansion for us. One, we've moved out of the facility across the street and consolidated our space. So we've increased our footprint here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Tower. And so now everyone's pretty accounted for. With that, we pulled back on the kind of the retail front look because initially we thought that folks would bring cars to us and we would do appraisals. But then we found we were more times not going out to them. So really the need for the expense for the retail front, we found that wasn't needed. And we had basically allowed that to sunset at that time. So we expanded here. Rehicle of Concord also needed a larger facility and some other factors that went into that. So they had expanded into a larger facility now, a couple exits up in Salisbury, North Carolina. Another interesting is that we have a signed letter of intent for a possible new franchise in New Jersey. The gentleman that is coming in on that, he has direct relationships with Avis and Enterprise in that area, and that's where their largest headquarters are for their fleet vehicles. His approach is to just go straight after them and continue to harvest, with them. So that's pretty interesting. Also, our expansion on consignment, as we'll talk about a little bit later, with new fleet programs, and then how we're going to manage that on e-commerce. We'll talk about that as well.
All right, great, awesome.
Well, with that, we've also expanded into outreach within the community to put on and we put on like once a quarter now, this local sales training, which we ask anyone who would like to join us for the sales training. I say that some of it is for the hustlers, those who will really want to get out there and beat the street, that want to find the vehicles for the consignments. We wanted to make it financially lucrative for them to do that. So I'll take you through what some of that is. Also, in that sales training, we help them understand where does all the money go, right? So as we say that the 50-50 split, it's your vehicle, we take it off your hands, we sell the parts for you, we split it 50-50. So we know 50% goes to the consignor. Next, and then so yes, there is a breakdown fee that goes against that, right? So we help the salespeople know how to explain that. There may be other marketplace fees, shipping fees that have to come out of that. Most of the times those are added to the customer. Other times it might impact the sale cost. That would affect it. 10% across the top goes to Rehicle Corporate. That is both for our kind of our management layer for our software and expenses, and then royalties all lumped in together in that 10%. 25% goes to the distribution franchise. They're the ones that break down the vehicles and carry kind of the heaviest burden of the financial. So they'll get the next largest piece. And then the last of which, 15% goes to the retail franchise. Now, we've only split those apart because we find that sometimes there are two different identities as to who's going to market, who's bringing the sales in, who's bringing the vehicles in, who sells the parts. But more times than not, the distributor franchise is also going to have their own sales force. And so they would be both distributor franchise and retail franchise for both 25 and 15%. When we bring in salespeople in off the street, as we're doing this training here, that 15% is how we cut up what is available for those sales folks, right? So the distribution franchise we never touch their money, right? Because again, they're the ones that carry that burden. So next slide, we show that they can go after 4 different channels of sales. 1, obviously for consignments. 2, we put on marketing events regularly throughout the year. They certainly can join and help with that and harvest leads there. Reaching out to partners like auto body shops and mechanics, tow wreckers, these have been really great lead sources for us. And so as individuals, they can make those relationships as well with their partnership and decide how they want to split, right, with them. And then, of course, local parts sales. As they're out there beating the street or they're talking to the auto body shops and the mechanics, they can establish that relationship two-way where they may actually start to buy parts from us as well. And we've seen some success with that already. Next slide. So some of the sales opportunities, as we know, the 50% goes to the consignor. We have ways to split up those for doing web and social. Maybe that they're digital first and they don't want to go out and beat the street, but they know how to bring in leads. We have affiliate links that we can do for that so that they can still get recognized. And we give them a $200 spiff. So every vehicle they bring in, we give them a $200 spiff, $100 up front, and $100 out of the parts sales. Once they reach their fifth one, on the next, then they can partake in 2% of all parts sold from the vehicles that come in that they brought in. So once they got to the fifth one, right, that's an incentive to get there. And now as parts sell, that they would actually get a commission off of that. And then if they start to sell to named accounts, meaning specific mechanic shops, auto body shops that they're selling parts into, they would get 3% of anything sold, irregardless of where the vehicle came from. If they're nurturing that relationship, they will be selling from all of the parts available. We, of course, will put on sales bonuses and promos. That could come from the distributor franchise saying, hey, I've got a lot of Forerunner parts. I need to blow these out. I'll give you an extra spiff if you sell these out. Now, as we'll talk about later, there are ways to buy into the franchise, as we mentioned. But if someone is out there really hustling, right, and they can bring in 50 cars, then we'll give them a retail franchise, right? And at that point, they're able to really partake in the larger sum, that whole 15% available. Our lead sources, as we talked about, ways that they can go out to marketing, but we can also provide them leads as well. As mentioned, the in-person events, social media. We do have cold call targeting list, if need be, to go after vehicles within specific communities or neighborhoods and start to target some of those. We've already put together a good number of flyers that work well to explain the consignment agreement. And then ads, as we mentioned with the affiliate links, either ads that we do and we're bringing in leads that we then cycle through those, or ads for yourself as you then bring in your own affiliate links. So how do we get the different tiers of the franchise tiers? As we mentioned, the salesperson can get up to a full 6% of not only vehicles coming in or parts being sold as an individual. As a retail franchise, they don't have to worry about spiffs. They don't have to worry about hustling on that side. But as the retail franchise, there's the $20,000 buy-in, but that would give them very direct relationships and the ability to start to manage their own sales team out of their retail franchise. The distribution center, and again, for that franchise, is a $30,000 buy-in. If you go to a brand new area, there's no franchise yet there, you would need both, right? The retail and the distribution franchise. And the distribution franchise also has a little more voting power and ability. They are the ones that really decide or approve if a vehicle will be taken in on consignment or not on that side. So they have the largest amount of risk, but they also have the largest amount of reward. All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tristan Olson. He is our marketing manager, and we're going to talk a little bit about what we're doing from our branding and then marketing perspective.
Welcome, Tristan. We're excited to hear all about what you have in store for us. So tell us a little bit about what's coming up.
Yeah, so what's coming up is as Rehicle continues to grow and to pivot, to really focus on what we're doing and what we're trying to sell, not only to people, but also to businesses, our marketing changes as well. So what we've been really excited about for this past year is that fact that we have been seeing growth, our transactions, over 200 transactions, our year-over-year growth, and our eBay rating, which is kind of our large, where we got most of our reviews at this current time, is at 98%. And a large part that goes to the Concord warehouse and Dan Crump himself putting in a lot of work, making sure that all our customers are happy. So that's really important to us, because what we have coming up next year is, as we have kind of learned and we've done a lot of research when it comes to marketing, there's so many different avenues in which you can market to. There's affiliates, there's online, there's web, there's YouTube, there's so many different things. So we've tested different items, learned different items. So coming up, we are going to pretty much do a whole scale marketing plan in the sense of really brand out what Rehicle is for all of our different consumers and customers. So if you're a business, we're going to have a marketing plan designed for them. If you're a consumer, we're going to have a marketing brand designed for them, considering our different avenues of sales. So
More target advertising.
exactly, because we do so many different things for so many different people, it's important that what we're marketing makes sense for each of those different aspects of our customers. So that's coming up next year, along with our affiliate programs and some of our more video and social media platforms we'll continue to delving into as well.
Great, awesome.
And if we can see that next slide as well, something that we're going to continue to do that we have been doing is we really care about, since we're here at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, we really care about our community and making sure we're well known within our community. So doing things such as the Charlotte Auto Fair, cars and coffee here at Charlotte Motor Speedway, and then really talking to these businesses in our area about our Rehicle Fleets program, making sure they know that we can be a valuable asset and an add-on to what they're doing. So really making sure that, if you're in the Charlotte area, above all else, you know who Rehicle is. Then as we continue to grow and our marketing grows, not only will Charlotte, but also North Carolina, South Carolina, East Coast, and hopefully the United States will know the name Rehicle when it's all said and done. So we're really excited about that and our future moving forward.
Sounds great. Sounds great.
So and I'll turn it back over to Michael.
Thank you so much, Tristan. We really appreciate it.
Do you want to talk myself or Antonio on the accelerator?
So what we can do now, just to kind of let you all know, for the past 12 weeks, we've been involved with an awesome company called RevTech Labs. They've really helped us to accelerate what we're trying to do here at Rehicle. So what I'm going to do now is just have Antonio come back up and Michael, the two of them, and they'll just kind of talk about our journey and what we've done with RevTech Labs.
Jump on in there.
Yeah, go ahead. Go for
All right. So as Crystal mentioned, over the last 12 months, well, not even 12 months, 12 weeks, it feels like 12 months, 12 weeks, we've been going through an accelerator program. And what that program basically does, as it mentions here, is it allows you to really take yourself from conception or from business that's slowly churning to, hey, listen, we're going to accelerate you. We're going to put you in front of the right people. We're going to put you in front of a group dynamic. We're going to have you work with others who are maybe where you are in business or in stage, or they may be much further along. But we're also going to just give you so many resources and so much information, feedback from an investor perspective that's going to allow for you to be years above where you would have been if you tried to go at it on your own. So we were accepted into that program. As was mentioned here on the slide, 1 out of 15 out of the 500 plus applicants. So 15 companies are actually selected, but over 500 applied. So great opportunity, great weeks of activity. But this week specifically, we've had a lot of additional activity.
Yeah, so I'll add to that. As an accelerator program, granted, there's a lot of tangible benefits. The signed letter of intent that we got for the next franchise came through someone affiliated with RevTech. So appreciated that, and thank you to them for the networking has been tremendous. We have a number of follow-ups to make with VCs this week. General sentiment has been that we'll get through this initial seed round pretty quickly. They like to follow each other, one after the other. So as the dominoes start to drop, and then you fill up your raise. Some will say, well, we want to commit once you get this much, we'll then come in. So we have to follow where those dominoes and line them up. Also with that, RevTech also invest into their cohorts. So we receive $120,000 investment injection, which also validated our earlier this year, our valuation. And so we're continuing with that. Now, they don't go away. They continue to provide advisory services that we can then reach out to them and to get access to more data. Now, all that being said, it all led up to one big showtime, right? Adventure 135 was a conference that they started, 9 years back, I think it was. And so it's been pretty successful for them. They've gotten known in the community. So it has drawn in a good number of VCs and investors. And so we applied to RevTech with one deck, We then were down selected and then presented them a little bit of a tighter deck. And then as we got there, that slide deck and our message got much more refined down the 9 slides to where it become very specific and very concise based on feedback that we were getting from my board of advisors that they presented to us. So we'd like to show you some of that slide deck that we presented in front of the VCs as well. And this is kind of a culmination of all that work that we worked through with them. So let's go and get that started. Won't be a complete reenactment, but we'll kind of talk through the what and the why and how the placement of the slides had started.
Absolutely. And one slide that's not here, but we did highlight our team, right? Because that's one of the biggest pieces of how we're able to do what we do. So we highlighted our team very briefly.
The first slide in, yeah.
Yeah, the very first slide. And then we went right into this slide here, some of the discovery that we had, right? Which is finding out that the industry, the automotive recycling industry, being the 16th largest in the United States, right? 25 billion plus on a yearly basis, something that we weren't aware of when we first started out, but we kind of highlighted that to everyone who was in the audience so that they understood kind of the magnitude of what we're dealing with.
So with that, we gave them a little bit of the history. Hey, we started out 2 years ago looking at auto parts consignment. We found that was a valid business model. There was enough money on the table to be split apart and to kind of disrupt that area of the industry. And as we explained how that story goes, we said, hey, insurance companies, auto body shops are like, hey, how did you do that valuation thing? And that's when we pivoted last year. So if you recall from our shareholders meeting last year, we had put out that we were building out the Rehicle Intertrack app, or RITA. And what we then were able to announce was that we soft launched that app, and it's now available on the Google Play Store as of this past weekend. We call it a soft launch because it's not completely launched until we get on Apple as well, and we are in their queue. They have told us we're in their queue, even though we've asked multiple times. So it's a kind of a waiting game with Apple. We think that should happen within the next month or so. Next slide.
And one of the things that we highlighted, of course, like you would do for anything, and you think that you're interested and you want to understand what the problem is. What are you trying to solve? If you're bringing a business to the table, you got to be trying to solve for a problem or meeting a specific demand, right? So we did that. We highlighted the fact that 3 specific things, right? The parts are more expensive and hard to find. We all know that. The vehicles, we also think of a vehicle a lot of times as a liability. So unless you're doing Turo or something like that, renting a vehicle out, you always say these vehicles are liability. You drive it off the lot, it loses value. Everyone has that premise, but also letting them know that there's a way to extract information from the vehicle that you have and find out if this vehicle can flip from liability to an asset. So we had that brief bit of information provided there. And then, of course, we talked about the major problem that there's no way to concisely standardize an appraisal for parts. It doesn't exist. There's nothing out there. There's no one talking about it. It's almost like no one really cares. But as time goes on and the future gets a little more dim, folks start to think about what they already have in place, right? They don't think about buying new. They think about maintaining what they have so they can take care of other aspects of their life. So we highlighted those 3 problems for them.
So our solutions over the last 2 years, obviously we had started out on our own, utilizing things like HubSpot and patching together exactly how we would do our appraisal process. And then as of our announcement from last year, I've been working towards making that a standalone process, right? So, which is completely different from a software wise to make it work for a mobile app and for mobile users. So next slide. What we did announce, while also announcing that this is the soft launch of the app, is that with the launch of that app, we're also providing the trade-in value, the retail value, and the full vehicle history of your vehicle when you put in the VIN number. So effectively, we're giving you the exact same data points that you would get from our Carfax or Kelly's Blue Book, and we provide all of the real numbers, right? That what are your parts really worth? And we started to term it the real number instead of just the vehicle number, right? This is what your car is really worth. So when you couple those 2 together, that truly makes us the most comprehensive vehicle valuation app on the market today. No one has all of those pieces combined.
Then, of course, we reviewed the go-to-market strategy, right? Our use cases, very quickly, we went through the insurance providers, the consumers, the auto body shops, as well as the business fleets. Kind of what we're looking to provide to each one of those groups. And as Tristan mentioned before, when you're servicing different areas, you have to be very specific as to what you're going to provide to them and what you're looking to get out of it. So we talked about those use cases, reducing the claim time for insurance companies, how we're dealing with the consumer already from a consignment perspective, right? And of course, adding in this valuation is going to be another huge piece of that. And then auto body and mechanic shops, helping them to find new modern ways to find parts, get away from the antiquated systems that they're currently using. But then, of course, the business fleets, as we touched on earlier, right? Being able to get folks who are 10, 20, I don't know if you guys, when you pulled up, if there were tons of trucks outside, right, for plumbing, a big fleet like that, what kind of things can they do with the parts that they already have in their pipeline? So getting that type of understanding, that core knowledge out was a part of our go-to-market strategy or the use cases that we use here.
Now you'll notice also from this slide that the two biggest ones are the insurance providers and the business fleets. The board of advisors from RevTech also helped us to come to some reality. Yeah, embedding ourselves with an insurance provider is probably going to take a while, right? 12 to 18 months out, it's very long in the tooth on the sales process. However, business fleets is a pretty sizable opportunity in of itself, right? And the economy of scale, you go after one account, you get multiple vehicles versus a one-off consignor. So that said, in 2024, we're actually focusing on business fleets as our marketing material will show. We're going to go directly after those with 10, 20 vehicles or more. And the idea that Rehicle can become your spare parts department, right? By breaking down some of the like vehicles that you already have. So with that, we have 3 specific income streams: our brick and mortar franchise, which we all know and love. Now the Rehicle InterTrack app from mobile, and then the APIs that power the mobile app. We've built it in such a way that we can then resell that API so that we can embed our data point into the insurance providers or to the software companies that are selling to those providers so that they can use the Rehicle number, the real number, as a metric for their business decisions.
And then finally, we came to the ask slide, right? So basically, what are we looking to get from these individuals, right? So outside of the many connections and the individuals who had some great warm introductions they could provide to us, from a VC perspective, from an investor perspective, we told them, hey, we're in a seed round, $2 million that we're looking to take us through the next 18 months. We've secured 260K of that, 1.7 that we're still looking for. And then we highlighted the 3 specific things that we're going for, as we talked about before. Right, ensuring that we are able to make Rita a robust, feature-rich app. We get that out there as much as we possibly can. We accelerate the vehicle report, right? We really talk through that investment there. But then the last thing is the marketing campaign. It doesn't matter how good your app is and how great all these features and products are if no one knows you got it. So the marketing campaign is really going to push so much more of our agenda going into 2020.
All right, so now for the Rehicle InterTrack app demo. So we're actually I'm gonna pull that up on the screen here. I'm gonna step away from the camera and see if I can't share that. Really, this is our last slide. We wanted to make this the shareholders meeting a little, not only formal, but also to announce that we will be doing more of these quarterly going forward as we bring on more institutionalized investors. That's kind of their expectation. That we would be giving those results. Also, the financials that you saw earlier, those are as of September 30th. And so by the end of the quarter, when we meet the end of December, then you'll get the true year-end financials. We'll start delivering those to each of all of the investors, right? So even though we're a private company, you are all part of that private, know-how, right? And so we'll share that pretty transparently, as we go.
And I think one of the things we talked about is, of course, it'll be virtually from a quarterly perspective, but once a year, we definitely want to meet in person, see all you guys' faces. So just once a year, we'll do this. And then quarterly, we will do it virtually. So one of the things we're going to do is just kind of discuss, okay, 2024, what's in store for us, as well as from a roadmap, some of the features that we have, marketing, PR, that type of thing, franchise expansion. We have so many things coming up. So, Michael, tell us what we have going on for 2024.
Yeah, it's like I said, the 2024 is going to be the year of, on the brick and mortar side, the year for fleets. from a sales perspective, going after those more heavily, and then continuing to build out the features as needed to support that for fleets, both within Rita. That what that means really technically is that we're going to have to build out a new consignor dashboard so that they can have an easier way to see all of the vehicles and then what's being affected of those. But we were able to pull that into the existing roadmap and still fit it within the investment that we have. Also going in 2024, not only expansion into fleets, driven much by the New Jersey expansion as well, and them going after fleets. We want to meet that demand for that as well, and looking to organically continue to grow the franchises. That's really it. We've gotten our focus down to two main things. It's the app and making the experience for fleets much more comprehensive.
Great.